What's going on, everyone? So today we get to go back to our obligatory double red KYLO for set 5. Got to do this every single set. It's one of my favorite decks to play just because it is so fast. We got a couple new tools. We got to dive into some games. Before we do, a big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. Guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel. It's been a ton of fun hanging out with you all. But let's talk about KYLO Red. What do we got going on? Well, guys, KYLO. We're trying to win on turn 3. We're trying to get KYLO down. We're trying to blast some people off the face of the earth. Honestly, the force payoffs from set 5 weren't convincing enough to kind of alter the direction of the deck and run the new base that's going to generate the force on attack over Tarkin Town. That's just kind of what I've found so far. I'm curious to see if anyone's had some different experiences. Of course, this is not like a tier 1 deck, but it is one of the fastest lists in the entire game. And with that, we got some new tools, and actually the meta so far in terms of what people are testing out with set 5 has been pretty favorable to KYLO. So what new cards do we get? First off, new Grand Inquisitor, another force unit, which really works well for a force throw play, but also just a 3/4 with hidden and raid 1. It's going to be kind of hard to deal with when it comes down, and then it's going to smack for a lot, which is pretty nice. The second one, another copy of essentially Fallen Lightsaber. This is Constructed Lightsaber. This comes down, gives our KYLO Ren +2/+3, and then Raid 2, which actually works really well because Fallen Lightsaber is one of our best cards. I still prefer the 1 damage to all the units because it does work well with things like Migs Mayfeld, things like Force Throw, and various different other things like Tarkin Town. So that is kind of like our 4th copy, which is really nice. But then we also get Battle Fury. Now this one we have a full 3 of, because this one's actually 1 cheaper. It's a 2 cost upgrade. It can be played on any unit, including vehicles, not just force units like Constructed Lightsaber. And Fallen Lightsaber still a little bit better than Constructed Lightsaber because it can go on some of our earlier units. And then Battle Fury is even more versatile than Fallen Lightsaber, but well, cheaper. The downside is that on attack, you have to discard a card from your hand, but that's usually not a problem because we deploy our hands so quickly. So Battle Fury coming down, this is again more copies of essentially Fallen Lightsaber when Kylo Ren comes down. And in some cases, you can get down early and maybe discard like a silencer and play that for essentially free. Or you have a Migs Mayfeld and you're planning on discarding a card. Or you were planning on discarding a card anyways to Kylo Ren's ability, and this just kind of gives you a little bit of upfront power. So overall, Battle Fury has been a pretty good one. Outside of that, we also have Sith Holocron, a nice one for a force unit. Can go ahead and just deal 2 damage to maybe like a Grand Inquisitor or 5th brother, or in some cases, just himself, and get in for an extra 2 points of damage for 1 resource. Really nice usage there. Of course, still very aggressive, tons of 1-drops in the deck, tons of cheap plays. Our most expensive card is Aggression and Saw Gerrera. Aggression is going to be the one that we're playing mostly, but there's been a lot of events rolling around, including things like Force Throw for Saw Gerrera to maybe get some advantage in, so that's going to be quite nice. Realistically, though, while we did get some new tools, most people are playing a setup-based deck, try to get in some value, and honestly, what we're doing here is just going face, going hard, and seeing if we can win that way. Of course, I'm sure we're going to run up to some matchups that are pretty tough, but let's see what we can do with KYLO today. All right, we're going to start off with a pretty fun one, honestly. We're going to definitely keep this hand. I do like this. I think Aggression is honestly pretty weak up against Vader. I also think Saw Gerrera is pretty weak up against Vader. They're going to have some events, but in theory, our opponent's going to be playing a bunch of space units, and we're going to be playing a bunch of ground units, which are going to be way more valuable in terms of how much damage they can pump in. Second Grand Inquisitor, not exactly what we're looking for, so we're just going to go ahead and resource that, and we're going to see what my opponent decides to do here. They may have an answer to one of my early units. They got a Sanctioner Shuttle, totally fine here. They grab the First Order Stormtrooper, that is totally fine as well. We get to go ahead and just attack in with Mr. Bones and then play a Grand Inquisitor. Sanctioner Shuttle is obviously like the #1 unit that my opponent wants in this spot to at least reduce some of the damage that they're taking. So that was really powerful for them. This is actually quite a nice draw, though. Force Throw is very likely to get some major value here. I'm actually going to start off with probably an attack in for 3 with the Grand Inquisitor, because I'm hoping to attack in for 4 or attack it for 4, not for 3. And then I will go ahead and just force throw my opponent just to see what they will discard here. They are going to discard the first order stormtrooper. K will take out the sanctioner shuttle then. We will actually go ahead and discard a card to pump up the Mr. Bones. Get in for 5 here. Actually, my opponent attacked here, which I'm going to assume means they don't have an answer to the Mr. Bones. So I'm going to play a unit before I do anything else, just in case they play a ground unit. Get in for 5. We get to use Target Town on the Sanctioner Shuttle, and then we get to deploy KYLO and attack for 5, right? That's going to be pretty spectacular. So does my opponent have some sort of answer to what we got going on? We can pump way more damage than they can in typical scenarios, which means that we are in a pretty good spot here. We are in a very, very good spot. Fallen Lightsaber looks pretty good here, but they could have like an overwhelming barrage on their 7th Fleet Defender to take out a few units. Looks like they have Surprise Strike, which means they're probably just conceding the game. To be honest, that means that they probably don't have anything here, and we are just going to be able to win. And this is exactly what I mean. Like, this is a good matchup. My opponent's all space. We're all ground. Ground units have more power in general because space units have that evasion. And even though they had a good curve out, like turn 1 first order TIE fighter plus a wingman, or turn 1 Y-wing plus a wingman Victor 2 to get in that early power to make 2 plays into turn 2 sanctioner shuttles, kind of where you want to be, especially since they didn't have to attack, generate a unit, then play sanctioner shuttle or anything like that. They were just able to do it to avoid that early damage. That was pretty good. So I didn't expect this to be a good matchup for our opponent. Unless they had overwhelming barrage, the game was basically guaranteed over. And even if they did, they probably still lose. Because if they overwhelming barrage 7th Fleet, they knock out Kylo Ren plus Mr. Bones. And then we just drop Fallen Lightsaber on Grand Inquisitor, attack in for 7, and then finish it off with 5th Brother, right? So not exactly a close game at all. All right, into the next game. We're going to mulligan this hand, even though Silencer's actually not too bad. The main reason is, this hand is actually a little bit more exciting to me. I'm a little bit nervous about the Darth Maul action in this situation because we have a lot of 1 toughness units, and this could potentially knock out 2 different units. But I was looking for a little bit of a stronger hand here, and well, I kind of got it. Double Guavian Antagonizer is actually where I want to be, so I'm happy with that. My opponent can attack with KYLO, use Darth Maul's action to deal 1 to each of these, which is actually not too bad at all for them. So good on them, I suppose. But we do have a decent curve out, so I do like that a good amount. Opponent's going to take initiative, of course. Well, I assume they're going to take initiative at least. But as I was saying, we had the Silencer hand, which didn't at least seem that great. We'll just put a period here to make sure my opponent is waiting or ready to go. Ooh. This is actually quite interesting because I can go with Battle Fury plus First Order Stormtrooper. I actually think I may want to go for Battle Fury here, depending on what my opponent decides to do here. Marin, huh? Okay. Marin is pretty good. Pretty good. That means they can knock out my droid missile platform. Okay. What do I want to do here? I could discard a card. I think I will discard a card to pump up my Guavian Antagonizer here. And then Marin is very scary. Very, very scary for sure. Here's what's interesting is now if they use Darth Maul's action, they won't be able to finish off a unit. So we can go ahead and attack into the Marin. So now if they use the Force, they'll have to deal a damage to one of their own units instead of both of ours, which isn't like a crazy good deal or anything like that, but we will be able to knock out the Marin with Tarkin Town because we can't have that live and just pick off things like droid missile platform for basically free. It's just too powerful. We need Marin to be gone. That card is just going to be incredible, especially when we're giving them extra cards from the Guavian Antagonizers. They are going to deal 1 damage to Marin. Sure, we're going to attack in for 4. Tarkin Town, Marin, droid missile platform, pass. Ooh, double Battle Fury is actually really incredible here. Because we can deploy KYLO and double Battle Fury it up, which is 6 additional power. That is crazy. I don't know if my opponent really has an answer for that. That is going to be absolutely just gross. Let's go ahead and attack in with the droid missile platform. Get in for 4. They're going to play a Marin. We will go ahead and deploy KYLO. That's fine. And we're just going to double Battle Fury it up. They can go ahead and deal 1 damage to each. That's fine. Marin is great. A great card. That is absolutely crazy. But that is 11 damage with Kylo Ren. That is 11 damage with Kylo Ren, guys. Incredible situation with the Battle Fury. I don't know if my opponent even has any answers whatsoever, even with Marin. Marin is a great card against us, and Maul in general is a crazy leader, but Battle Fury coming in absolutely clutch here. The fact that you can go double Battle Fury because it's 2 resources, just incredible. Like, I don't even know. I'm trying to think of what my opponent could have that can deal with this in aggression command. And I mean, obviously it can have like upgrade defeat potential, but Traitorous doesn't do anything. GG doesn't matter. GG. They had Traitorous, and that was not even close at all. Not even close. Dang. Battle Fury absolutely wrecking it in that game. Into our next game, and honestly, I like my hand. I like it. I think I'll keep the Fallen Lightsaber, and I'll resource the aggression and the Sith Holocron. I like the 1-drops here, and I'm hoping to pick up a couple of plays in the following turn that makes this curve a lot better. But Benthic 2 tubes plus Guavian Antagonizer looks pretty good. The kind of nightmare scenario is maybe like Jedi Consular plus the Force Infused Brawler. Okay, that's pretty sweet, actually. Yeah, let's just go with Benthic 2 tubes. Both of these kind of just trade. Like, they got the turn 1 4/4, which is actually gonna be pretty good. Force Throw. I mean, Force Throw is pretty good. Constructed Lightsaber is pretty good too. We'll see what my opponent attacks here, because I think I'm just gonna go Fallen Lightsaber on Benthic 2 tubes and then Constructed Lightsaber on Kylo Ren plus Force Throw on the next turn. But we'll see what my opponent has here. Either way you slice it, I think my opponent should kill off the Benthic 2 tubes here, actually. We're just going to go Fallen Lightsaber here on the Benthic 2 tubes, get in for 5. Hopefully my opponent doesn't have an answer to this, but they do have the Force here, which, I mean, Sorcerer's Blast could be a thing. They could have like a Force Throw potentially, because Infused Brawler is a Force unit, which kind of messes up our Force Throw chances. But, you know, hey, we'll see what my opponent's got here. Waiting for my opponent to make an action. What do you have, opponent? What do you have? Yep, they have a Force Throw. We take 1 damage. Not a big deal whatsoever. I'll just Tarkatan away the Infused Brawler. Does mess up our play next turn, which is a little bit unfortunate. Force Throw on your own cards should have been so much better. It would have been so much better. I'm very surprised that my opponent did not go with that plan. Instead, Chaos of War looks really good here, actually. And I don't know if I want to discard the Chaos of War to Kylo Ren to pump up this Benthic 2 tubes, because the Chaos of War looks like it's going to hit for like 4 or 5, which is going to be pretty good. We'll see what my opponent's got here. Maybe they use Avar Kriss as an action. They've got Ki-Adi-Mundi. They're going to draw a couple of cards. That's actually totally fine. I'm going to deploy Kylo, get down the Constructed Lightsaber on Kylo, and then attack him with Benthic 2 tubes, give this raid 2, and now this is going to have raid 4, which means attack for 10. So they're going to be up at 20 damage. So boom, boom. And then Ki-Adi-Mundi drawing a bunch of cards here is just that much better for us, right? I mean, look, they have, how many cards? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mean, that is crazy. They have 7 cards in hand. The Chaos of War is going to hit for 7. Like, that is insane, by the way. That is insane. Yeah, we're just dominating. Like, we're absolutely dominating. I don't know what my opponent can have here either. Like, I'm trying to think of all the potential ways that we could lose. Of course, I don't know my opponent's playing in the first place, but like, I don't see anything that my opponent can do here that's going to get them out of this spot. If they have a Force Throw, doesn't do anything, even if they're able to knock out Kylo Ren. Yeah, I mean, look, we're just going to attack in, and that's 7 damage. What are they going to have? Right? Chaos of War hits for 7 right now. This is what I mean by, like, the decks that are going more mid-rangey style. This is where Kylo Ren just feasts. It just feasts on this type of stuff, where they're going a little bit more late game. They don't have as much potential. I mean, I don't know what my opponent's thinking about. They've got to have something incredible to get them out of this spot. Yeah, doesn't matter. Chaos of War, GG. That's Chaos of War for 6. I mean, that is crazy. 6 damage, by the way. Crazy. Into the next matchup, we've got ourselves the Yoda Red. This is going to be the type of deck that we played on a previous video. I imagine it's going to be the kind of burn Yoda, which can be very scary up against us. This is a reasonable hand. We have the Bo-Katan into Silencer and Mr. Bones, but they're going to have a good amount of removal. Things like Sorceress Blast, things like Force Throw, potentially things that are a little bit more scary here. Okay, we're going to go Bo-Katan here. And then we'll see what my opponent decides to do. Pass, Benthic 2 tubes, Droid Missile Platform. I'm going to resource this Benthic 2 tubes. I doubt that we're going to be able to get this down and actually attack with it. I think my opponent's going to have a lot of ways to kind of deal with what we got going on here. I can discard a card to this Silencer, but if they have a Sorceress Blast, I'm going to be a little bit sad, to be honest. They do have a Yoda. Yoda, absolutely great card. Absolutely fantastic card for them. We're going to pass here. Double Battle Fury. I mean, Battle Fury could be pretty good here, guys. I mean, the Yoda is really good for them, by the way. Yoda is just fantastic. They do have Chirrut, huh? This is a really easy play, actually. Because what we can do here is put a Battle Fury in Grand Inquisitor. And then discard. Yeah, we're going to go Battle Fury on Grand Inquisitor. Going to be a 7-powered attacker, which just one-shots the Chirrut, which is going to be really nice. And then we discard, deploy KYLO, Battle Fury again. Double Battle Fury in this game looks incredible as well. They're going to attack base here, huh? Okay, so we will just kill Chirrut. They can use the Force, but there's no reason to. Chirrut is dead. Totally fine. Let's go ahead and... Okay, they're going to use a draw a card with Yoda. Hopefully not hitting the Ray. Okay, no Ray. Let's go ahead and discard a card. Give the Bo-Katan +2/+0. And the question is, do I want to play out this Silencer or play out the Battle Fury? I think here... I want to actually play out the Silencer because I'm going to deploy KYLO and attack the Secretive Sage. I want to clear out the board because this Grand Inquisitor is going to be pretty powerful. So we're going to play out the Silencer, deploy KYLO, and then smack the Secretive Sage, pass. And now, I mean, we've got a couple options. I do like the Chaos of War. It's gonna be a lot of damage here. The Battle Fury ideally is going to be a lot of damage here. And I did like the Silencer deploy because we can put Battle Fury on the Silencer. We don't even have to remain in the ground arena. Obviously, Chirrut's very, very good here, but I think we took a different direction this game because if I went face, the Yoda's going to start healing up to every single turn, and they could definitely turn the stage because now they have to have an event or something to do with this Grand Inquisitor. Otherwise, they're in a really, really rough state. Here, they've got Chirrut. This is fine. We can just put Battle Fury on... Well... They could have a Force Throw here. If they have Force Throw, how bad is it for us? I think we just trade. I think we trade. Because of Force Throw. They could still Force Throw us. Okay, they're going to use the action. Let's put a Battle Fury on the KYLO. And we'll get in, and then pass. Another Grand Inquisitor, another Silencer. We may as well keep both in case Force Throw. We're getting close to not being able to close out the game, though. Double Chirrut. They had double Sentinel plus Yoda plus a shielded unit. We haven't had a chance to use Tarkentown here. Very, very good curve. This is like the way to potentially go ahead and try to win the game here for them. Let's go ahead and just immediately get an attack in. Well, I suppose if they have, again, something a Force Throw, it's not going to really matter here anyways. So, oh my gosh, they have another Chirrut. That is insane, by the way. That is insane. Let's go ahead and attack in for 3. Another Chirrut is insane. What? Okay. Let's go to attack Chirrut. The third Chirrut. Wow. I mean, this is the only way they even had a chance in this game, by the way. That's crazy. Really, really spectacular curve in general from them. We're going to pass here. Got a couple of units. Couldn't use the Tarkin Town this entire game, really. I suppose I should have just attacked with the KYLO instead of playing out a unit. I would have just gotten in for a massive amount more of damage, and that would have been just better. But here, I mean, we're going to get in for 4, and then both of these are lethal, so I'm not really sure what my opponent plans on doing here. Granted, they can kill the Bo-Katan with Yaddle, heal up, and then we attack in for 3. And they play Yoda, restore 2. So they if they, because we just claim here, I suppose. They have Force Throw. No way. What a card to have as one of the final cards in their hand. They actually got there. They actually got there. GG to my opponent. They barely got there. The triple Chirrut. Really, that last Chirrut absolutely dominating us. Really, really close game, actually. I should have just attacked with KYLO. I was playing around a card that... I was playing around a card that I thought they were going to have, but then they ended up having the third copy of another card I could have played around. So that's one of those situations where, you know, triple Chirrut draw against the aggressive deck definitely is the way to go. Yeah. I wonder if instead of attacking with Chirrut immediately, I should have played out the Battle Fury and the Chaos of War on that one turn when I could have done something a little bit differently. I would have lost the Grand Inquisitor, though, if I remember correctly, which is why I wanted to make that attack. But I'd have to go back to that point because that made us discard the Chaos and maybe we could have pushed us into the win. So good match from our opponent. That was really close. Into the next game, and we've got ourselves a good one here up against another Avar. We're going to go ahead and resource the Guavian Antagonizer because I'm planning on going Bo-Katan plus our next turn Infused Brawler. Okay, we're going to go ahead and claim Initiative then. Yeah, we could just go ahead and resource that Guavian Antagonizer. And we're just going to attack in for 3. Everyone loves their Infused Brawlers. They can go ahead and do whatever, really. I don't really think it matters. Yeah, let's go with Silencer here. And then let's go with Death Star Stormtrooper. Like, they can attack here. Totally fine. Claim Initiative. See what my opponent wants to do here. Double Fallen Lightsaber. That could be pretty good. That could be definitely pretty good here. We're going to attack in for 3 into the base. Ignore. What do they have? Rebellious Hammerhead. That's a pretty good one, huh? I think here we're actually going to deploy KYLO, and I will actually take out the Jedi Consular here so they cannot utilize it for next turn. Rebellious Hammerhead is a pretty good one. Very, very solid one to see. Migs Mayfeld. I mean, I think Migs is better than the Mr. Bones. I would have preferred some more upgrades, actually. Let's see what my opponent's going to do here, though. I think we are in a pretty good spot. We're going to go Fallen Lightsaber on Kylo Ren. Just pump him up immediately. They've got Poe Dameron deployed. Migs Mayfeld coming in. And I think we just... I mean, they can attack the Kylo, discard a card, kill off something else. But then if they discard a card, we can deal 2 damage to a base. So, like, let's think about this. We have 11... We have 14 damage. And then we have 22 damage. And then we put Fallen Lightsaber on something and we can still win. Yeah. I think attacking base here is what we want to do. Okay. Aggression looks decent. I think we don't resource anything here. Migs Mayfeld, remember, anytime an opponent discards a card, you get the 2 damage. So it's not just like... Okay, they're gonna defeat the upgrade. Yeah, that makes sense too. I think that's a pretty reasonable play. They're going to discard a card, defeat the upgrade, deal 2 damage, what, to Migs? Or maybe the Death Star. I think a Death Star Stormtrooper is probably the one that's more relevant. We'll do 2 damage to them. We will attack in for 2 here with the MiGs. Kiadi Mundi. Okay, we'll just put like Fallen Lightsaber and then attack in for lethal. GG to our opponent. Double Fallen Lightsaber. That's the beauty of having like Battle Fury Fallen Lightsaber, a constructed lightsaber, just a ton of it. I mean, this game, even though they had the turn 1 best play they could have had, into turn 2 getting the Jedi Consular down, which allowed them to go Rebellious Hammerhead, we still just crushed them. Like, it wasn't even really close at all. So good game to our opponent. Okay, we got ourselves Admiral Akbar Green. What a fun one to fight up against. Definitely a slower one, and exhausting, probably not going to get there. Oh, and well, there you go. I don't think they felt like they were in a winning position, I suppose. Let's go ahead and jump back into that queue. Looks like we got another matchup up against that Yoda here. We will see if they are going to pull out the triple turrets again here. Not a great hand. It's not terrible, but it's definitely not something that I am excited about. I do think keeping them off the Force is pretty nice. So maybe I do keep this hand. Yeah, you know what? Let's keep it and resource these 2. And go with the Migs Mayfeld on turn 1. Because now what we could do is discard this. Deal 2 damage to the Yoda. Or the Yaddle. Tarkin Town away the Yaddle. Pass. Then we've got a couple of options to utilize here. I think Aggression's going to be... Or I think Fifth Brother is actually going to be the resource here. Because now we discard the Silencer to the Migs. To hit 2 damage, potentially to the base or to a unit here. We will see. And then we can play out the Silencer. But this is to avoid the restoring. Yeah, okay. So we're going to discard, give +2/+0, deal 2 damage to a base. And now we get to kill Yoda. And then play out the Silencer and the Mr. Bones. And this is just to prevent my opponent really from getting off the ground here. So now we're going to go Silencer. Then we're going to go Mr. Bones. And they can keep passing, but they're not going to be able to use the Yoda action. It's just not going to happen this turn. We're not going to let it. I'm going to claim initiative, sure, and we're going to knock out Yoda. Pass. So we basically use MiGs plus a bunch of cards in our hand to prevent my opponent from really doing anything in the early game. We'll see if that truly does pay off. I do think Aggression is going to be pretty nice here. We can deal 4, and then, I mean, potentially we can discard this First Order Stormtrooper to the Mr. Bones, and then get an attacking with Mr. Bones to deal 3 damage to something. That could be pretty nice. We will end up seeing here what we would like to do. There's the X-Wing, huh? Okay. Let's go ahead and... I think we will discard a card to give the Silencer +2/+0. And then we can... I think we just attack, deploy, deal 4, ready the Mr. Bones, attack, and then attack again. So really, really a quite disruptive start to the game, and I think it was excellent. Like, no restoring on the battlefield, no way to generate the Force, which means things like Sorcerer's Blast remain offline, and that means that we just have such a strong start. And now I don't know if my opponent can really come back in the game. We'll see. They could have a couple different cards that would be pretty powerful, but with Mr. Bones online, I mean, I think this is going to be pretty tough for them. We will go with Battle Fury on the Silencer just to diversify our options of attack here. And yeah, this game is completely over because now we get to just attack with everything, and it's going to be GG because they have no resources. So it is GG. And, you know, first game really close up against Yoda, but this game not even close. Not even close. Migs Mayfeld absolutely carried the whole game. Disrupting that early Force generation and the restoring potential is just completely ruined my opponent and his options, or and their options. So I'm just gonna say GG because my opponent is just, I don't know what they're doing, but GG. All right, into the next game, and honestly, we've got ourselves a pretty interesting one. I'm gonna resource probably one of the Battle Furies and then one of the 3 drops because I can go double 1 drop on turn 1, and then we can go Grand Inquisitor into probably something and something. Oh, this is actually quite nice. Maybe I just go Guavian Antagonizer and don't even play anything else. Because Guavian Antagonizer... No, I'm going to go Mr. Bones as well. I don't think it really makes a whole lot of sense to go with anything else. Okay, so Grand Inquisitor. No, we're gonna go with Miggs Mayfeld here on the next turn instead of the Guavian Antagonizer. Guavian Antagonizer are absolutely amazing. It's Krennic. But I was thinking about whether or not I want to go Miggs Mayfeld plus another Guavian Antagonizer or just Grand Inquisitor. But we're gonna run out of cards in hand, and I will just go ahead and knock out that that Krennic. We don't really want Krennic around here on the battlefield. Too many options my opponent can really utilize here to just have such an advantage. Grand Inquisitor, great play, no, though. And then we can get Miggs Mayfield plus Battle Fury plus discard a card here on the next turn, which is going to be just fantastic. So I do like that. Let's go ahead and pass, though. What do we got? Couple of kind of random plays. I suppose I will just resource the fifth brother. I don't think it really matters here, but we'll see what my opponent's got here on the fourth resource turn. Maybe something good. Maybe something good. What do you got, opponent? What do you have? I mean, I love our spots right now. I absolutely love our position. Series Officer does like absolutely nothing. Let's just go ahead and deploy Miggs and stall out the game a little bit and see what my opponent wants to do here. It's possible I will use the 2 damage trigger from Miggs to kill off the Series Officer. What did they just do? Oh, fight fire with fire, but they killed the Guavian Antagonizer? Really? Okay. I mean, I suppose they could do that. Let's go ahead and just discard a card here. Deal 2 damage to the base. I'm just going to go full base here. Deploy KYLO. Battle Fury on KYLO. Attack, and that's just a massive chunk of damage. Absolutely fantastic draws as a follow-up. I think I'm just going to drop the Chaos of War, but we will see. I'm going to keep both in hand because it's very likely that I'll want to discard, or I'm going to discard one of them. And that's a heavy. Yeah. I suppose I'll go Fallen Lightsaber on the Fallen Grand Inquisitor here. Just go ahead and attack. We get to discard the Chaos of War, and then boom, that is a total of 10 damage to base. And I mean, again, not a very close game at all. Just absolutely running through our opponent. All right, and a great way to finish off our games today up against a Sabine, which I do think is one of the lists that, well, it's one of the best lists in the format in set 4, that is. But Data Vault, I do think is going to be a lot better up against us than some other options that they may have had. Guavian Antagonizer, Chaos of War are going to be the resources here. Don't really care for the Chaos of War in this matchup. I do think Bo-Katan into turn 2 Battle Fury, potentially. I don't know. We'll see. I think Bo-Katan here is going to be the play of choice. A-Wing. Don't really care about A-Wing all that much. They're going to deal 1 damage to each base. I think that's okay as well. Death Star Stormtrooper. I think Guavian Antagonizer are going to be the resource here. And I will just deploy out this fifth brother here. I think fifth brother is going to do some pretty good work up against my opponent's potential units coming down. So let's just go ahead and attack in with the Bo-Katan. They're going to attack in for 3. Our opponent could definitely race us, though, with the Data Vault versus Tarkin Town. They have 8 extra HP, which means that we got to pump up some significant amounts of damage to actually race them or utilize Tarkin Town to a pretty good effect. So we will have to see if we can actually do that. Let's go ahead and claim initiative, and we'll see what my opponent's going to do. They're going to deal a couple of damage to us. Great. Chaos of War immediately going to go in the resource pile. And then let's see what my opponent's going to start off with. We're going to discard a card, give Bo-Katan just +2/+0. We'll see if they just trade off here. I think that's a pretty reasonable play for them to do. And then we can go 1-drop Battle Fury. And I like our spot a little bit better, but we'll see. They may just go face. K2SO, huh? So what do we have here? I mean, I think we just go base, right? We just attack for 5. And we just ignore them. Because they attack for 6. I mean, they're going to get a lot of damage in this turn. No doubt about it. Death Star Stormtrooper coming down. Mr. Bones coming down. Battle Fury coming down. And my opponent, I mean, now they can deploy Sabine into us, but I don't think this is really going to work out for them. I mean, we're doing a decent job of racing. Okay, we're going to deploy KYLO. Attack in for 5. And then we can attack in for 6. And then use Tarkin Town on this. I mean, what do I want to do here? Guys, what do I want to do here? So we attack, they can get in for 3, and then we have, let's say we attack the K2SO. We then have 5 damage, which is a 10 powered attacker. And then we would be at 16. I don't think they have enough direct damage if we just attack. Well, no, because hold on. We're at 19. So then 2 attacks actually get there. And I think we attack base. Deal 1 damage to the Fighters for Freedom. And then we'll see what my opponent decides to do here. Trying to figure out what I do, because if kill the K2SO, my options are I attack K2SO, deal 1 damage to 5th Brother and Fighters for Freedom, knock it out. Then I have a basically massive 5th Brother that I can utilize, which is incredible. But then I take 3 damage from K2SO, and if I do that, they probably deploy Sabine, which means that they're going to get in for up to 19. And this way, I mean, I think we're racing them. My opponent probably doesn't have the same potential here to race. We're going to attack in, deal 1 damage, trigger 1 to KYLO. And we're going to get rid of that aggression. We don't really care about that. They can use Frisk, but it doesn't matter. I don't really want my opponent to have their K2SO die, and GG. Right? We raced them. We absolutely crushed the data vault, actually. It was a little bit tricky there. But I mean, my opponents, they were going to race, and they just thought that they could race. Even with the Fighters for Freedom, they didn't even bother hitting my units. They just kept hitting base. And I don't know if that was the right play. With data vaults and the Sabine, I think they're going to have a little bit more power in their deck than we will later on. So I do think what they could have done that turn was, when I discarded to Bo-Katan, because I thought they were just going to kill Bo-Katan if they had the opportunity. So I think they should have just traded off with Bo-Katan here. And then they deploy Sabine and try to knock out the Death Star Stormtrooper or something like that. It would have been a tough game regardless for them. But I think that would have played out a little bit better than what ended up happening here. Regardless, guys, Battle Fury, absolute champion of the set. Like, this thing won us so many games. Crazy card. All right, guys, what did we learn with set 5? Well, it was a blast. We absolutely ran through so many decks that were trying to stabilize or doing their like force thing or whatever they were trying to do. Even a champion of set 4, which was the Sabine Data Vault deck, absolutely fumbled up against us in terms of just how many units we were able to deploy. The 2 new cards that I found to be absolutely excellent: Battle Fury, absolute hero. This thing just absolutely crushed it. The fact that it's 2 resources instead of 3 really mattered, because this is the turn that Kylo Ren comes down to where you can double play. And so, yes, in some games you're not going to have double Battle Fury, but that also means that you can play Battle Fury and then play a 2-drop or something of that nature, which is absolutely fantastic. And you can even do something like play Battle Fury, stall out the actions, attack, and then play Silencer or something like that, which is amazing. The other card, Grand Inquisitor, also fantastic. Another Force unit which works with Force Throw, the Fallen Lightsaber, the Constructed Lightsaber, absolutely amazing. Didn't get to see Sith Holocron be played at all. The Constructed Lightsaber did come in when one of the games up with Kylo Ren being the, equipped unit, which was great, right? It was just like another Fallen Lightsaber, as exactly as I said. So really just streamline, right? Set 4 Kylo, it comes in, it kills on turn 4 or on turn 3. it just does its thing. It does its thing every single game, unless your opponent just absolutely dominates in terms of sentinels or early game aggression. Tarkin Town, I don't think should be replaced. The value you get from like random MIGs triggers or the Fallen Lightsaber triggers, or just, you know, finishing off a unit that otherwise would not have been finished off because you have a bunch of X1s or like 2-3s or 2-2s or 2-1s, etc., I think is just incredibly important. Tarkin Town just ended up being absolutely massive in a couple of the games where we just completely dominated the early game to where our opponent couldn't really do a whole lot. I do think our list can absolutely be wrecked, especially when you get into sideboard games. People are going to bring in the upgrade hate against your Kylo Ren's lightsabers and constructed lightsabers and all that stuff, but the game one potential of this deck is actually really high. I do think this is a great game one deck, and I do think when you're playing these best of ones, you really see the power of Kylo, because a lot of decks are just not expecting the hyper aggro that is Kylo Ren. This is like the most aggro list you can absolutely get. Discarding your cards for extra damage, temporary pump effects, upgrades immediately to put on your units, and then direct damage in things like the Chaos of War. This is the most aggro that you can really get in the set, or in Star Wars Unlimited in general, besides maybe like, you know, Han to Greed, where you're deploying a bunch of 1-drops and things like that. This is just so many 1-drops, so much aggro, and it is really fun to play, to be honest, guys. I absolutely love this deck every single time I play it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all for the next one.